Believe me when I say this, don't envy every rich man or woman that you come across, because most of it is ill-gotten wealth. Let's have a look at this cover of the Daily Nation, for example, and I quote, 39 billion scam. US agents target Kenyan properties. On to the subheader. Payback since 2022. Kenya has featured in courts in the US state of Minnesota during a 39 billion corruption trial. Masterminds of the COVID-era scandal invested part of the cash stolen from the US taxpayers in Kenya, buying high-end apartments and luxury resorts. Now, with their conviction, US authorities are on the trail of the ill-gotten wealth. And you can see an individual called Abdiaziz Farah, Abdi Majid Noor, Mukhtar Sharif, Hayat Noor, and Mohammed Ismail. Then right next to Mohammed Ismail, there's another text which reads, Karibu Palms Resort in Diani, which convict Liban Alishire bought using part of his stolen $315 million. He agreed to surrender the property. So let me explain how this scam works. Picture this. At the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when schools were closed and fear was everywhere, the US government released emergency funds meant for hungry children. The program was called Feeding Our Future. It was meant to be a simple, noble cause where the US government gave out meals to low-income kids because they could no longer eat at school under shutdown. Now here's where the plot thickens. Some goons from Minnesota came up with a non-profit organization called Feeding Our Future, and guess what? The state of Minnesota trusted those goons to oversee millions of dollars from the federal child nutrition program. And instead of distributing food, the Feeding Our Future non-profit started approving fake food sites which claimed to be feeding thousands of children every day. In some sites, they claimed to be serving 3,000 meals, 5,000 meals, or even 10,000 meals daily. But in reality, there were no children and there was no food. It was all just a big scam. Now in comes the second question. Where did the money go to? First up, right here in Nairobi, Kenya, a high-rise apartment building was purchased, specifically in the South Sea neighborhood near Nairobi National Park. According to the DOJ, Department of Justice, that is, another defendant bought an aircraft in Nairobi using the same funds. You go to Diani, another one of these shifty individuals allegedly wired $216,000 towards purchasing Karibu Palms Resort in Diani Beach, just right next to the Indian Ocean. Still on the US Department of Justice report, some of the funds were also used to buy land in Mandera town along the border with Somalia and Ethiopia. Again, let me reiterate, don't envy wealthy men and women. For some of them, you just never know how they came about those funds. These are people who are going to scam taxpayers abroad to then come and wash the money in this country. You have heard of South Sea, you have heard of Diani, you've heard of Mandera town. Others are even buying planes and they're chartering them to us. These are some of the things which need to be recouped by the US and Kenyan government, sold, and then we share the spoils. Sababu hii pesa hatuwezi rudishia wa America much as ni yao. The crime was committed on both countries. The funds were stolen in America, invested in Kenya. We will seize them, sell them, tukatane katikati nusu-nusu. Because that is what they would have done in America anyway. I don't think they'd send it all the way back to Kenya if at all. And this is what's going on in this country, left, right, center. Scammers si wale pekee wako Minnesota. Even this housing program, kuna watu wanakulia illegally. Overpricing cement, overpricing chuma ya D10, D12, D8, overpricing BRT. Everything is through the roof for the sake of somebody getting kickbacks and stealing from the nation. As we deal with these people who stole from America, we must also ask ourselves, who are these people who are currently stealing from this republic? Because pia wale wanaiba Kenya ni exchange program. Hawa wanaiba huko wanaleta hapa. Wetu wanaiba hapa wanapeleka Dubai na kwingine. So we must also start looking into that. But anywho guys, let's see what Kenyans on X had to say about this, and I quote. Brian Okello said, from Minnesota to Minnesota. Well said, Brian. Godfrey Mugambi said, was just wondering how a Somali president could come open a big mall in Isili in the company of Duale, who has become very arrogant of late. He has kept very silent on this matter. Serikali ya majambazi ikiongozwa na jambazi. Combo Steve said, the US government itabidi ianze kushindana na boma yangu kuuza nyumba. The Kenyan property market is saturated with overpriced houses. Information Technology said, USA does not play with taxpayer funds. They have the reach and means to claw back their money. Sir Isaac Newton said, in the same way that funds meant for development in Mandera, Wajir, Isiolo finds its way to Isli. Ironically, Isli was never mentioned in this report, but that's an interesting tweet right there. Gatonga Kairu said, 39 billion is just a drop in the ocean literally. The fraud must be quite extensive. If the US authorities dig a little deeper, the entire of South B, C, and Parklands will suddenly become empty shells. Selector Physicus said, wakifukuzwa US watakuja Kenya. Please be vigilant. Nchi yetu isiwe another Nigeria, Sudan, ama Lebanon. But what say you guys? Do drop me your comments in the comment section below and I'll do my best to read them and to give you a response. So with that, here are today's ads of the day. If you're in need of office partitioning or home interior works, i.e. kitchen cabinets, modern media walls, wall decoration, wainscoting, wardrobes, tiles, bathrooms, window blinds, gypsum and so on, reach out to Somali'S Interiors at 07170 443. or info@swimmers.co.ke, and they'll get all your needs sorted out. Whatever it may be, all interior works, these guys are the best at it.
Right now, I'm with my team headed to a client's house in Ruiru for consultation. That is to take measurements of the windows, go through our catalog with the client, and then once they decide on the color and the fabric they want, we'll get busy sewing, and at long last, the curtains installation will be on us. So if you're looking for curtains, shears, curtain rods, curtain accessories, reach out to Phoenix Curtains and Interior Decor and we will sort you out. Call us on 0724 414153.
Now, if you're here for the first time, please go on and hit the subscribe button. And if you're watching for a different platform, just head on over to YouTube, search for David Wafula, hit the subscribe button. You're going to be getting a ton of content of this nature. If politics is something you're passionate about, this is definitely the one channel that you really need to subscribe to. Alright guys, adios. Thank you for choosing David Wafula as your primary news platform. We put countless hours in research, recording, and editing. By showing up each and every day to watch our videos, you encourage us to generate more videos for the viewers. We are on a mission to inform, educate, and build a better tomorrow. To our thousands of followers in a world full of presidents, kings, and queens, you are the real gem. Adios.